to Indonesian International Islamic University, a university that stands together in a diversity of cultures, languages, history, and also the beliefs inherent in the identity of Indonesia as a multicultural archipelagic country. Indonesian International Islamic University is the first international Islamic university in Indonesia that not only explores Islamic studies, but also introduces to the world an advanced Islamic civilization in Indonesia that is able to make a positive contribution through discovery, research, and global achievement.
Do you need high quality of international education right here in Indonesia? The place is at the Indonesian International Islamic University, or we call it IIIU. IIIU has 4 faculties. One of them is the Faculty of Education. The Faculty of Education offers MA and Ph.D. in education with 4 concentrations. First, curriculum teaching and learning. Second, educational assessment and evaluation. Third, education policy management and leadership. And 4, education and society. The 4 concentrations are designed to represent the ecological system, namely those that focus on the micro context, represented by the concentration of curriculum, teaching and learning, the meso context, represented by the concentration of educational assessment and evaluation, and the concentration of education policy management and leadership, while the concentration of education and society represent the context of a larger meso layer, linking it with the macro lenses of economics, politics, anthropology, and sociology of education.
And here, we are at the Faculty of Education, one of the faculty at IIIU designed to produce high-quality transformative educators with a passion for lifelong learning. Our dedication to excellence and innovation sets us apart from the rest, and we are proud to be leading the way toward a brighter future for education.
The IIIU Faculty of Education offers a Master of Arts in Education program that prepares graduates for careers as academics, practitioners, designers, researchers, government officials, managers, supervisors, assessment specialists, evaluators, policy analysts, and consultants at national and international institutions. The program provides a comprehensive foundation in education covering theories, philosophies, practices, and their connection to society and culture. Graduates are equipped with the skill and knowledge necessary to succeed in education. The IIIU Faculty of Education is committed to providing students with a supportive and inclusive community. Our faculty comprises experts dedicated to helping students achieve their academic and professional goals. With the resources and support available at IIIU, students have the opportunity to thrive and succeed in their chosen careers in the education sector.
The Faculty of Education is filled with experts and globally recognized lecturers who are able to share their passion, story, journey, and perspective with like-minded students.
Our Ph.D. program is designed for students who are passionate about education and want to make a significant contribution to the field. Our faculty members are experts in their respective areas of research, and our program provides students with the analytical tools and resources they need to conduct groundbreaking research and participate in global discussion. Our application process is highly competitive, but we encourage all qualified students to apply. You can visit our website for more information on the application requirements and deadlines. Let's make your dream come true with study in the Ph.D. program at the Faculty of Education, Universitas Islam Internasional Indonesia.
On more than 140 hectares of land, Indonesian International Islamic University has built dozens of facilities to ensure a seamless experience and also a balance between academic activities and non-academic activities. Indonesian International Islamic University will always support the positive development and freedom of each individual, especially those related to physical, mental, and spiritual development. At IIU, we will learn more, gain more, and give even more as we believe. Lesson shapes souls. Come and join us to shape the souls and create the future.
Welcome to Indonesian International Islamic University. Established on June 5th, 2018. This campus is expected to be a place for the growth of faith and humanity. We recognize truth and humanity as our motto because we believe that Islamic values and humanity are always connected.
As an inclusive campus, IIU welcomes anyone, regardless of differences in religious background, ethnicity, culture, gender, age, and abilities.
Delivering an international
Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to begin. Please, for those participants sitting behind, to fulfill the row in the front first. Once again, we're going to begin, so we would like to kindly request the participants sitting at behind to move forward, so we will be fulfilling the row seat first. Thank you.
IIU is determined to help talented young people from all over the world, so this campus is made for talented youths to flourish. Thus, hundreds of prestigious young students from 5 continents have been registered as IIU students and are occupying our dormitories. At IIU, they study with professors, lecturers, academics, and researchers who have experience teaching in world campuses and graduates from well-known universities in Asia, America, Europe, the Middle East, and Australia. With strong support from the government of Indonesia, IIU continues to build infrastructure, management, faculty and library buildings, lecturer housing, dormitories, sports facilities, reforestation programs, and much, much more. We believe we can grow bigger than our dreams and hopes. We strive to continue to make improvements through various innovations, collaborations, as well as dialogue with students, lecturers, and staff in carrying out the university's vision and mission. Come to IIU and join future leaders from various countries to seek knowledge to the ends of the earth.
Check.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
The Excellency, Director of Generals of Science and Technology, Ministry of Higher Education, Science and Technology, Professor Ahmad Najib Burhani, M.A., M.Sc., Ph.D. Respected keynote speakers, Clara Maria Hefner, Ph.D., Union College, United States of America, Dr. Farah Akbar, University of Edinburgh, United Kingdom, Professor Dr. Jérémy James, Research Institute on Contemporary Southeast Asia, Thailand, the Honorable Rector of Universitas Islam International Indonesia, Professor Dr. Jamhari Makruf, the Vice Rector of Universitas Islam International Indonesia, Mr. Syafiq Hasim, Ph.D., Dean of the Faculty of Education, Professor Nina Nurmila, Ph.D., respected lecturers, honorable guests, distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome to the 5th Annual Conference of Faculty of Education's 2026,
Transferring Educations for Future Generations, Advancing Global Justice and Innovations.
This conference is proudly hosted by the Faculty of Education's Universitas Islam Internasional Indonesia, IIIU. We warmly welcome you to the opening ceremony of this esteemed event. My name is Desinta, and together with me,
Leo, we are honored to serve you as the Master of Ceremony for today's event. On behalf of organizing committee, we would like to express our sincere appreciations for your presence and participations. We are truly grateful for the opportunity to gather in a good health and a spirit to engage to a meaningful discussions on various educational issues in today's dynamic context.
Honorable guests, allow us to present the agenda of today's opening ceremony. First, the Indonesian National Anthem, Indonesia Raya, and IIIU Mars. Second, welcoming speech by the Dean of Faculty of Education. Third, opening remarks by the Rector of IIIU, continued by prayer and cultural performance. To begin the event, let us respectfully sing the Indonesia National Anthem, Indonesia Raya, followed by IIIU Mars. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise.
Setia berdana bakti
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will now proceed with the welcoming speech delivered by the Dean of Faculty of Education, Professor Nina Nurmila, Ph.D. The Honorable Prof. Nina, the time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala Muhammadin sayyidil mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Amma ba'du. Honorable our Rector Professor Dr. Jamhari, our Vice Rector Dr. Syafiq Hasim, and then the keynote speakers, Professor Ahmad Najib Burhani, and also Claire Marie Hefner, Ph.D. From the Union College, United States of America, and our next speaker, Professor Dr. Jérémy James from the Research Institute on Contemporary Southeast Asia from Thailand, but I think you are originally from France, isn't it? And another speaker, Dr. Farah Akbar, will come here on the second day from University of Edinburgh, and she cannot be here in the first day due to the chaotic international travel due to the war. Esteemed scholars, lecturers, presenters, staff, committees, invited guests, and participants of the conference. Thank you very much for participating in the 5th annual conference. And this 5th annual conference takes place just after our Eid festival. So I would like to take this opportunity to ask for your forgiveness and pray that we are all among those who return to purity and among those who are granted victory. Minal aidin wal faizin. And I would like to especially thanks to Dr. Andar Nubowo, the PIC of this conference. Okay, yeah. Thank you very much for your effort to make this conference successful. A lot of sacrifices that he made. Yeah, and the call for paper for this conference have started since 2025, and we have submission of 17 full papers and 129 abstracts from 7 different countries such as Afghanistan, Australia, Indonesia, Malaysia, Romania, Singapore, and the United States of America. So for the authors of the abstract, we gave them like around a month to complete the full paper. So altogether, at the end, after a draft review process, we have 62 final submission from Australia, Indonesia, and Malaysia. And all the submitted papers were graded by external reviewers, and then the best papers will be announced at the end of today, yeah, after the conference dinner. And the conference theme for this year conference is Transforming Education for Future Generation, Advancing Global Justice and Innovations. So this is categorized as Education and Society theme. And like the previous conference, this conference aims to facilitate the meeting and the sharing of both junior and senior scholars to present their research results. Yeah. And also, of course, for networking, yeah, and for us to receive articles to be published at our Sinta 3 journals, Muslim Education Review. I hope the ranking of our journal will go to Sinta 1 and indexing by Scopus soon, yeah. And what is something a bit different between this conference and earlier conference, that in earlier conference, all the speakers are funded, they travel by us, by IIIU, and the same with this year, but on one, Dr. Farah Akbar, who come here with the funding of the University of Edinburgh and the British Council as part of our collaboration between IIIU and the University of Edinburgh, because we developed a dual degree program between Faculty of Education at IIIU and the University of Edinburgh, in which students, master students can spend a year here at IIIU and then another year in the University of Edinburgh, funded by LPDP. And actually this is not the first year of our developing a dual degree program. This is our second year. Last year we have already started with the dual degree with SOAS. So we will send our student for the second year to SOAS this year, yeah, Alifa. And in addition to SOAS and Edinburgh, we also have our dual degree agreement with the University of Melbourne and Deakin University. So this shows that even though our university, IIIU, is new, yet we have international recognition. We also expanded this year a master program. We have opened 2 additional master program. That's Master of Arts in Psychology and Master of Educational Leadership. I think that's all from me. I hope you enjoy the conference, enjoy the networking, and we can meet again maybe in May 2027 for the 6th annual conference. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you for the speech, Prof. Nina.
Distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen, we'll now proceed to the opening remarks delivered by the Rector of Universitas Islam International Indonesia. The Honorable Professor Jamhari, we respectfully invite you to deliver the opening remarks and officially declare the conference open.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wa bihi nasta'inu ala umuri waddin. Assalatu wassalamu asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajmain wa ba'du. Very good morning to everybody, and sorry to my somber and beautiful voice. I just got the flu. That's because I ate too much opor during Ramadan and also Lebaran. Honorable Director General of Science and Technology, the Ministry of Higher Education and Science and Technology, Ibu Claire Marie Hefner. I think we know you for so long time, not only you but also your parents, and Dr. Farah Akbar and Professor Jérémy James, and also my colleague from the university, my vice rectors, deans, and also college lecturers, and also my beloved students. First of all, I would like to welcome you all to this university. It is the only state international university in Indonesia. So we hope that you enjoy staying here. And I'm pleased to tell you that currently we have 6 faculties. As you see the banner, the Faculty of Islamic Studies, the Faculty of Social Sciences, the Faculty of Science and Technology, the Faculty of Education, the Faculty of Economic and Business, and I think we are going to have the Faculty of Law this year. Now around 600 students studying in our university, and we are very happy that there are a lot of applicants to our universities. Last year, there were about 4,500 applicants, but we can only have 250 students. So it is very competitive and very high competitive in our university. Distinguished keynote speakers, dean and all lecturers of the Faculty of Education, esteemed scholars, presenters, staff, committees, invited guests, and participants of conference. First, I would like to congratulate the Faculty of Education for organizing this annual conference. By organizing consistently 5 times of this conference series, I can see the commitment of the Faculty of Education in advancing sustainable human development through education, with this year focus on catalyzing social equity, equipping individuals to navigate dynamic global landscapes, and addressing persistent challenges such as unequal resources distribution, digital disparities, and systematic inequalities. These issues are exacerbated by disparities between the global North and South, uneven access to emerging technologies, and the need for inclusive, sustainable, and adequately financed educational system. Second, I can see that the theme of the 5th annual conference, Transforming Education for Future Generations, Advancing Global Justice and Innovation, is not only in line with our university's mission, but also will serve as global platform for interdisciplinary dialogue, empirical research, and policy-relevant solutions. This hybrid, in-person and virtual, two-day event draws on the faculty's core concentrations curriculum, teaching and learning, educational assessment and evaluation, education policy, management and leadership, and education and society. The conference aims to foster rigorous, evidence-based strategy to ensure equitable access, high-quality learning outcomes, and innovative educational systems that promote transformative thinking and resilience. Third, as stated in the initial information of the conference, the primary objectives of the conference, among others, are to provide a forum for sharing robust theoretical, empirical, and interdisciplinary research aligned with the theme addressing pressing global educational challenges. To promote dialogue and advancing global justice through inclusive, sustainable, and innovative education practices. To explore strategies for overcoming disparities in access education, technology, and resources with a focus on equitable outcomes for diverse and marginalized groups. And lastly, to highlight university's role in integrating Islamic perspective, ethical consideration, and evidence-based approaches in education. I hope all of you can take advantage of this forum to share your knowledge and expertise to contribute in advancing global justice and providing conducive environment for inclusive education. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy. As the Dean already explained, that currently we have a lot of international cooperation for dual degree, like with Edinburgh University and also Melbourne University and Deakin University. I hope Ibu Claire and also Pak Jérémy can also bring such a cooperation with other countries. So our international cooperation and international value of this university is really there. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Professor Jamhari, for the opening remarks.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to the next agenda. To seek blessings for the success of this event, let us bow our heads and pray according to our respective beliefs. The prayer will be led by Khalifatur Rahman, the MA students from Solo, Indonesia, and Nakazi, the MA students from Uganda. To Khalifatur Rahman and Nakazi, the time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma lakal hamdu kulluh wa lakal syukru kulluh wa biyadikal khairu kulluh wa ilaika yurja'ul amru kulluh.
All praises be to Allah. All praises be to Allah. O Allah, all praise is yours, all thanks is yours, all good is in your hand, and to you all matters return.
Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.
O Allah, send peace, blessings, and grace upon our Prophet Muhammad and upon his family and companions all together.
Allahumma ighfir lana wa liwalidina warhamhum kama rabbawna sighara.
O Allah, forgive us and our parents and have mercy on them as they raised us when we were young.
Allahumma inna nas'aluka ilman nafi'a wa amalan mutaqabbala wa rizqan tayyiba.
O Allah, we ask you for beneficial knowledge, accepted deeds, and pure provision.
Allahumma allimna ma yanfa'una wanfa'na bima 'allamtana wa zidna ilma.
O Allah, teach us what benefit us what you have taught us, and increase us in knowledge.
Allahumma aslih lana dinana alladhi huwa ismatu amrina wa aslih lana dunyaya allati fiha ma'ashuna wa aslih lana akhiratana allati ilayha ma'aduna.
O Allah, rectify for us our religion, which is the safeguard of our affairs. Rectify for us our worldly life, in which is our livelihood, and rectify for us our hereafter, to which is our return.
Allahumma la taj'alid dunya akbara hammina wa la mablagha ilmina wa la ila an-nari masirana.
O Allah, do not make this world our greatest concern, nor the limit of our knowledge, nor our destination, the fire.
Allahumma yassir lana umurana kullaha.
O Allah, make all our affairs easy for us.
Allahumma barik lana fi hadzal majlis waqsim lana fihi min al-khairi fid dunya wal akhirah.
O Allah, bless for us this gathering and apportion for us within it goodness in this world and the hereafter.
Allahumma ja'al ijtima'ana ijtima'an marhuma waj'al tafarruqana min ba'dihi tafarruqan ma'suma wa la taj'al fina wa la ma'ana shaqiyan wa la mahruma.
O Allah, make our gathering a merciful one, and our separation after it a protected one, and do not make among us or with us anyone miserable or deprived.
Allahumma kama jama'tana fi hadzal majlisil mubarak fajma'na fi a'la darajati jannatil firdaus ma'a ahibbatina wa man nuhibbu.
O Allah, just as you have gathered us in this blessed gathering, gather us in the highest level of Jannatul Firdaus along our loved ones.
Allahumma taqabbal du'aana waghfir lana warhamna ya arhamar rahimin.
O Allah, accept our supplication, forgive us, and have mercy upon us, O most merciful of those who show mercy.
Amin ya rabbal alamin.
Amin. O Lord of all worlds, accept from us.
Wassalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you for leading the prayer. May this event proceed smoothly and bring meaningful impact to all of us.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we have now arrived at the final sessions of today's opening ceremony. As the reflections of Indonesia's rich cultural heritage, we're delighted to present a cultural performance. In conjunction with these celebrations, we are also honored to wear a traditional attire from Bima, West Nusa Tenggara, as a tribute to Indonesia's diverse cultural legacy.
moment, we will be privileged to witness a performance by Estudia, the student body of the Faculty of Education's IIIU, represented by Alfi, Chut, Alifa, Alvarez, and Alia, the MA students from Indonesia. They will perform a special music and dance arrangement called Nirmala Dance, a contemporary dance that shows the beauty, grace, and hospitality of Indonesian culture. The word Nirmala means pure, representing sincerity in welcoming guests. Carrying spiritual nuance, the song emphasizes the self-reflections, purity of heart, and faithfulness as the essence of the true love. We hope this performance will inspire us and serve as the reminder of the beauty of the diversity that unites us. Please enjoy the cultural performance by Estudia.
Distinguished guests, President of IIIU, Dean, lecturers, faculty staff, and my fellow students, welcome to IIIU. Berurus yang membentang, mengiringi langkah menuju kampus tercinta. Daun-daun berisik ditiup angin seakan mengucapkan selamat datang. Na 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 na. Oh yeah yeah. Menara tinggi menjulang, dihiasi taman-taman indah, hiasi suasana gedung-gedung yang megah, dipayungi luasnya langit bila ciptaan Tuhan, hamparan sempurna, anugerah Maha Kuasa. Sejauh apapun ku pergi, jiwa selalu memanggil untuk kembali. Oh, oh. Welcome everybody to the Faculty of Education. Pengrawuh dumateng para saderek, mugi-mugi Gusti Allah nyambadani wilujeng sumping para hadirin sadaya. Mugi-mugi ditang tayunganku Allah.
Diciptakan seorang insan, lembut hati redup pandangan. Apabila berkata seluruh alam menyaksikan kesyahduan, bagai tersentuh rasa percaya. ketika terdengarkan telah jauh berkelana entah di mana ada rasa
the wonderful performance. Let's give another one applause.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, before we proceed to the next agenda, we would like to kindly invite all the speakers, the Excellency Director General of Science and Technology, Minister of Higher Education, Social Science Technology, Professor Ahmad Najib Burhani, M.A. MSc Ph.D., followed with the respected keynote speaker, Claire Marie Halfer, Ph.D., Professor Dr. Jérémy James, Ph.D., and the Rector of Universitas Islam International Indonesia with the Vice Rector of IIIU. We would like to have the photo sessions, and followed by the Dean of the Faculty of Education, Prof. Nina Nurmila, Ph.D., all the Faculty of Education lecturers to have the photo sessions. We would like to invite the documentation team to capture the moment.
Okay. Keynote speaker dulu. Sama.
Okay.
Together with the lecturer.
We would like to invite also all the Faculty of Education's lecturers to have the photo sessions with all the keynote speakers.
Oh, yes.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as we come to the end of this opening ceremony, we stand at a threshold of ideas, collaborations, and transformation. Today marked not just the beginning of the conference, but the beginning of a meaningful conversations that will shape the future of education toward greater justice, innovations, and global impact.
May the knowledge we share, the connection we build, and the insight we gain throughout this conference inspire us to become the catalyst of change in our respective communities and beyond. On behalf of the organizing committee, we extend our deepest gratitude to all honorable speakers, respected guests, and participants for your presence and contributions. Your participations makes this gathering truly meaningful. Finally, we as your Master of Ceremony would like to extend huge appreciations and wish you a fruitful, engaging, and inspiring conference. Buah duku, buah melon.
Thank you and see you around. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, after this, we are going to have the keynote speaker sessions. The first keynote speaker will be the Director of Generals of Science and Technology, Ministry of Higher Education, Science and Technology, the Honorable Professor Ahmad Najib Burhani, M.A. MSc Ph.D., and will be moderated by Mr. Muhammad Alfa Amir Rahman, M.Phil, Ph.D. To the Honorable Mr. Alfa, the time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah wa syukurillah, wala haula wala quwata illa billah, amma ba'd. Distinguished guests, colleagues, participants from Indonesia and abroad, students of Faculty of Education and other faculties at IIIU, good morning and welcome to this keynote session. It is a pleasure to moderate this session featuring Professor Ahmad Najib Burhani. His presence is especially meaningful for this conference, which carries the theme Transforming Education for Future Generations, Advancing Global Justice and Innovation. In many parts of the global South, the issue is no longer only access to schooling in the conventional sense, but also access to quality learning, research ecosystems, digital infrastructure, scientific networks, advanced technology, and institutional capacity. This is why the conversation on education must be linked not only to quality and innovation, but also to equity, justice, and public purpose. This conference invites us to think seriously about several pressing questions. How do we address the still unequal access to education between the global North and the global South? How do developments in STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, artificial intelligence, and digital technology reshape learning, teaching, and assessment? How do we ensure the technological transformation does not deepen exclusion, but instead broadens opportunity? How should pedagogy evolve in response to rapid technological change, especially in relation to critical thinking, creativity, ethical reasoning, and problem solving? How can higher education contribute not only to academic excellence, but also to industry, innovation, economy, employability, and broader social transformation? And how do we respond to contemporary concerns such as ethical AI, digital citizenship, decolonizing knowledge, and leadership for systemic change? These are exactly the kind of questions that makes today's keynote especially relevant. It is therefore my great pleasure, my great honor to introduce Professor Ahmad Najib Burhani, a scholar and public intellectual whose career brings together academic depth, international engagement, and strategic policy leadership. Professor Burhani currently serves as Director General of Science and Technology at the Ministry of Higher Education, Science and Technology of the Republic of Indonesia. His academic journey reflects a strong and distinguished international background. He studied at UIN Syarif Hidayatullah Jakarta, earned his MA from Leiden University, his MSc from the University of Manchester, and his Ph.D. from the University of California, Santa Barbara, the United States of America. Before his current role, he held a number of major research leadership positions, including research professors at LIPI, head of the Center for Society and Culture Research at LIPI, head of the Research Organization for Social Sciences and Humanities at BRIN, and his international scholarly profile is also remarkable, with fellowship at leading institutions such as Leiden, Kyoto University, Drew University, ICS Isak Institute in Singapore. Mr. Burhani is also a highly productive scholar with substantial publication in international and national venues and broad public intellectual engagement through popular writing. His academic standing has been recognized internationally, including inclusion in the world top 2% scientists in 2024 and 2025. Please give him a big applause. With this combination of scholarship, policy experience, and an international exposure, Mr. Burhani is exceptionally well placed to help us reflect on a number of urgent issues. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in warmly welcome Professor Ahmad Najib Burhani.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. Thanks, Mas Alpha, for your generous introduction. Honorable Rector of UI 3, gimana bahasa Inggrisnya? Triple IU, Prof. Jamari, Vice Rector, Mas Syafiq, Pak Saiful Umam, Mbak Tati, Din, Bu Nina, Mas Alfa, Mas Andar, ada Mas Amih juga, ada Mbak Tati, and then keynote speakers, lecturers, and esteemed colleagues, and also guests. It is really a great honor to be here today at the 5th Faculty of Education Annual Conference 2026 on transforming education for future generations, advancing global justice and innovations. I'm representing the Minister of Education, Higher Education, Science and Technology. He could not come here because he is accompanying the President, Pak Prabowo, to Japan. So he sent his regard to you all, and I'm happy to be here to representing him. The theme of my talk is quite similar, actually, transforming education for future generations, but focusing on the impact of AI. This is actually a longer version of my short article that was published last year in October 2025. This subject is not only timely but also incredibly urgent. Sorry, I forgot to mention our keynote speakers, Mbak Claire, and also Jérémy, and also Farah, Akbar, and other speakers. I know her for a long time. Since 2012, I met her for the first time, I think, in Malang, together with Pak Jam, Mas Alfa, and also Andar, and some other people at that time. Okay, back to my talk, sorry. So the topic that I would like to talk is, I think this is very timely and incredibly urgent. I want to share 4 insights on this theme, drawing on my own global participation and our national context. The first one is the new landscape of educational technology. Last year, in June 2025, I had the privilege of attending the International Society for Technology in Education, ISTE, conference in San Antonio, Texas. As the world's largest educational technology conference, ISTE is a powerful window into the future of learning. The sheer scale of the EdTech Expo was undoubtedly the most memorable part of the conference. At the time, I spent an entire day from 9 a.m. until late afternoon exploring nearly every one of the 1,075 booths at that conference. Major players like Google for education, T-Mobile for education, how to say it, BenQ or something like that, education, Canva, Prodigy, Microsoft for education, and Adobe for education were all present, showcasing their latest innovations. This was my first time attending such a massive educational technology expo. And to my knowledge, an event of this magnitude and scope has never been held in Indonesia. What stood out most was the sheer number of new edtech, education technology, tools being launched, especially those powered by AI. For example, Google for Education unveiled a suite of new tools, all built around their Gemini AI. We saw Gemini for Education, a tool that can create interactive quizzes with built-in hints, and Notebook LM, which can generate podcast-style audio discussion from uploaded sources in over 50 languages. The list of innovations goes on, like Gemini in Classroom, and then text capture to extract information from your screen, and then help me read to summarize PDFs, articles, and websites, bulk grading and scoring in Google Classroom. Another captivating and impactful aspect of ISDE 2025 and a primary was the abundance of presentations and learning opportunities focused on AI for education. I attended numerous sessions, including Power of the Prompt, Maximize Productivity with Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat, and then Teaching Writing with AI, Problems, Potentials, and Possible Futures, Empowering Student Creativity with Artificial Intelligence and Design Thinking, and then Artful Writing with Artificial Intelligence, and the Future of Writing Instruction, Navigating AI's Impact, among others. These presentations significantly broadened my understanding of various AI systems beneficial for education, extending beyond just ChatGPT to include tools like Gemini and Canva. And now I use almost every day Canva and also Gemini in this one. Myself also often use that one too. In a sense, the content delivered in these sessions provided crucial insights into how to redesign learning from the AI-infused world we live in. This material offered practical edtech educational technology strategies and tools to help us meet learning goals. Of course, with thousands of learning opportunities, I think more than 1,500, and presenters, 2,300 presenters, running in concurrent and often overlapping sessions, it was impossible to attend them all. But the quality of what I did experience was exceptional. Now, return to the main topic, the great AI dilemma. This rapid integration of AI in education has created a new kind of tension in our schools. At ISDE, perhaps we can say it in bahasa Indonesia secara lebih cepat ya. A central theme was the paradox of AI use. Many teachers fear that students will rely on AI to complete their assignments, from homework to dissertations. Yet, at the same time, we are seeing students protest when their own professor use AI for grading and assignment generation. This was a notable issue at Northwestern University, where a student, as reported by the New York Times, accused professor of hypocrisy, demanding tuition refunds because he, the professor, is telling us not to use AI, and then he is using it himself. This is, a great dilemma we must confront. We can no longer pretend that students and teachers can simply be separated from social media and AI. The solution is not to turn back the clock, but to learn how to surf on this new wave of technology. In this new landscape, we can identify perhaps 3 or 4 main groups of people in perceiving and treating AI. The first one is AI pessimist. The second one is the skeptical adopters. The third one is pragmatic users. And then the fourth one is AI enthusiasts. The AI pessimists are those who view AI negatively and worry that its existence will replace humans or even spell the end of civilization. The skeptical adopters are those who doubt various claims regarding the positive impact of AI on humans and tend to be very cautious in using it. The pragmatic users are not overly concerned with theoretical discourse and issues related to the future of humanity. They simply utilize AI to increase productivity, efficiency, and to address current work challenges. The group known as AI enthusiasts are those who see AI's potential as a tool that can transform the world for the better. They positively view AI as a tool that brings progress and innovation. Each group represents a different approach to this technological shift, and our policies must nuance enough to address them all. And then the second one is a new vision of transformative education, perhaps the one that strongly relates to the topic of our conference. The traditional concept of transformative learning, as pioneered by Jack Mezirow, focus on the individual process of constructing new interpretation of their experiences. In his view, transformation often came from life-changing events, like moving to a new country, or meeting a person from a different culture, meeting with someone from a different religion, different society, and something like that. However, with the advent of AI and social media, we are now experiencing a new kind of transformation. The very fabric of our reality, our way of living, is being reshaped by this new technological world. While Mezirow's work has been expanded with new perspectives, such as psychoanalytic and psychodevelopmental views, many of these still focus on the individual. The socio-emancipatory perspective introduced the idea of context and social change, emphasizing critical reflection and horizontal relationships between teachers and students. But the changes we face now are far more rapid and revolutionary. Therefore, our approach to transformative learning in Indonesia also must be adapted. The core component of transformative learning, critical reflection, holistic approaches, and then relationships, all are being profoundly altered by social media and AI. At its core, transformative learning is about changing the mindset of students, but with the advent of AI, it is our own mindset about education that must undergo a profound transformation. Jack Mezirow outlined 10 stages of the process of transformative learning, beginning with the first and most crucial step, a disorienting dilemma. I believe that AI is this very dilemma. It is an experience that shatters our old perspectives, forces us to fundamentally rethink what we know about education, knowledge, and even human identity. Now we are going to the redefining concept of education. AI is challenging the very concept on which our educational system is built. Consider this question that we are now forced to confront. What does it mean to be an author, like Masafik, for instance, when AI can serve as a co-author or even generate an entire book on its own? How do we define plagiarism and cheating when AI tools can so effectively paraphrase text that it becomes unrecognizable from the original sources? These are not just technical issues, they are foundational questions about the very nature of learning. There are new themes on our educational discourse, such as how to detect bias and misinformation in AI outputs, the power of prompt to maximize productivity with tools like ChatGPT, Canva, and Gemini, the future of writing instruction and navigating AI's impact, how to move beyond the cheat sheet and truly transform student learning, and also how to integrate AI into storytelling and literacy as a powerful partner. In fact, with the presence of AI, the meaning of creativity, which previously usually refer, for instance, in writing, critical thinking, and something like that, and also the meaning of critical thinking and reflection has become different from the frame of reference we have believed in so far. For example, creativity has become more related to patterns of composing prompts, so that we can properly explore availability data and information. This creativity can also take the form of efforts to integrate AI voice bots for interactive and personalized learning. In sum, AI is a disorienting dilemma, as I mentioned before, and it is up to us to navigate its complexities. This is a challenge, but it is also an incredible opportunity to embrace a new vision for transformative education. We are moving from checkmate zero into a new era. We must not be skeptical adopters or passive observers. We must be a leader who use these powerful tools to build a new, more attractive educational system for the future. This is the challenge before us today. It is our collective responsibility to create educational system that not only prepares students for an AI future, but also teach them to harness these powerful tools for the betterment of society and our planet. The last thing that I would like to share is actually the book is already I shared to Mas Alpha also under top 10 jobs of the future for 2030 and beyond. This last point is actually several times stated by our minister, Professor Brian Yuliarto, and urged universities in Indonesia to open programs related to this one, including, for instance, if I mention top fastest growing jobs, big data specialists, fintech engineers, AI and machine learning specialists, software and application developers, security management specialists, data warehousing specialists, autonomous and electric vehicle, and something like that. So the list you can find at the World Economic Forum. What is the title of the book? World Economic Forum 2025, Future of Jobs Report 2025. And I can summarize that that technological change, geo-economic fragmentation, economic uncertainty, demographic shifts, and the green transition individually and in combination among other major drivers are among other major drivers expected to shape and transform the global labor market by 2030. That is why this is not yet stated in any regulation, but would be one of the recommendations for opening programs at any universities in Indonesia, like trying to connect with 10 top jobs of the future. This is also the design of a program at, for instance, Sekolah Garuda and other program at the Ministry of Education. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mas Najib, for your very enlightening presentations. Ladies and gentlemen, Prof. Najib just elaborated in his paper. I already distributed the paper. I hope that the committee can distribute this to the audience. He basically outlined the new landscape of educational technology, the great AI dilemma, yeah? AI enthusiasts, adopters, pragmatic users, as he mentioned, a new vision for transformative education, redefining foundational concepts. I think these are very important. What does it mean to be an author when AI can serve as a co-author or even generates an entire book on its own? Yeah? And the top 10 jobs of the future for 2030 and beyond. Yeah, he just elaborated some of the jobs that are declining and the jobs that are growing. Yeah, he mentioned fintech engineers is one of the growing job, and data entry clerks, cashiers, administrative assistants that are declining. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to open up session, question and answers. But before that, I would like to maybe later, Pak Najib, perhaps you can elaborate. Maybe during the question and answer session, you can also insert the thing about as we know that our PISA international score is very low. Also, TKA is also very low, which shows that our literacy and the numeracy of our graduate of senior high school is very low. Yeah, and then how can we develop into technology-driven country when our mathematics scores generally is very low, which is very an important component for developing STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And in terms of policy, Pak Najib, from government perspectives, what are the breakthrough that the government is planning to have to make sure that we, for example, Indonesia and other global South countries can catch up with other emerging countries like China, South Korea, Vietnam, whose independence proclamation is just almost the same year as us, yeah, but they advanced already. And what are the revolutionary breakthrough that the government can proceed, to ensure that we can strategically surpass this nation and become an independent, technology-driven country like many other countries in the world. For example, Pak Najib, Iran has been blockaded for 40 years, but their scientists were able to produce a missile. For example, this is just an example. And we Indonesians has abundant opportunities, but we achieve almost nothing. So how can we go, and proceed with that development? Thank you. I would like to invite ladies and gentlemen to provide some question and answer. I would like to invite maybe from my right wing and my left wing. I'd like to welcome you to come up with questions for Pak Najib, as long as he's here. And he's one of the decision makers that in the government. So I think it's a good opportunity for us, to deliver what we think is important. Please, maybe from students. Okay, one, a lady, you can come up with, can you please give the microphone to her? Or yeah, okay. So one is on my left wing, and
thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Introduce yourself. your name and your institution.
Okay. My name is Maya Puspitasari. I'm a lecturer of English education from Universitas Terbuka.
Okay.
Maya.
Maria, okay. Maria from
I would like to ask to Prof. Najib, because you mentioned that the implementation of technology, especially in education, I teach English teachers mostly because I teach in Masters of English Education, and they sometimes they are ready to implement technology, but then on the other hand, they are reluctant to implement technology because one teacher told me that first, before technology came, the students are diligent to study, they can join the competition, and then they got a first rank in the competition, but then when the technology come, they play more. They use the mobile technology, or they play mobile games more. So sometimes they are reluctant to, eventually they are reluctant to implement technology in the classroom because of that. So how can we as lecturer or teachers encounter those issues? Because you mentioned earlier that sometimes we ask the students don't use AI or use AI wisely, but then as teachers we also use AI. So how can we teach them to less, we can't avoid AI or technology, but then let's use it wisely. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Yeah, thank you, Maria from Open University or Universitas Terbuka. She asked about what do teachers, have to do, when faced with issue related to AI. Okay, good. I would like to invite, yes, another one, Mr. Sahid. Introduce yourself again, please.
Thank you so much, Pak Alfa. My name is Shahid Abdullah. I'm a PhD student in education. I'd like to ask Professor, it's about, you highlight that AI have two sides. That the first emergence of AI, it gives us the positive benefits that students are motivated to learn in the class, and then it's enhance some language learning. But then after years by years, it also gives a negative effect that AI use can decline the critical thinking of the students. So, and you highlight it as a dynamics of the use of AI. And then I found out some papers that talking about AI literacy, in which can solve the problem of the dynamics of the AI itself, that people should understand the way they use AI and the way they understand the AI. But in our country, as what Pa Alfa say, that we have low scores on PISA scores, in which reflecting that the literacy scores in our country is low. So I think we have two homework for our country. That the first thing, we need to increase the literacy score in our country, and the second one, we need to invent AI literacy to the students. But my question is then, how about the policy that the government planned to solve this kind of dynamics about AI literacy and the literacy score itself? I think that's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sahid, for your questions. I think I would like to invite another one, yeah, Pak Najib, maybe from the right wing. Yes, please. Okay. It's good that we have 3 people posing for questions.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name Dewi Susanti from Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia Bandung. Thank you very much. I want to ask to Prof. Ahmad Najib Burhani. I am focused in technology in education, and I want to ask about how does the Ministry of Education envision AI transforming Indonesia education system in the next 5 until 10 years? And then what national policies are being developed to ensure equitable access to AI-powered learning for both urban and rural schools? Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi. Please.
From Sahid, and then the third one. I think the second and third question is quite similar, right? Yeah, Mas Alfa, about the government program in terms of like how to respond the AI in education and something like that. This is the one actually, the responsibility of one of the directorate at our ministry. The name is Systems and Strategies of Transformative Learning, with the focus on AI, which in 2024, actually we have published, I forgot the title of the book, I wanna like try to see it, but I can share it to you later on, because this is already available in PDF, that's the first book. And then in 2025, we launched actually a program to develop system of teaching adopting AI in higher education, using the funding from LPDP, and also from the APBN. So the name is Science Tech Edu, Science Technology Education. So that one, actually the result of 2025 has been, what you call it, it's already ready to be published, and also several programs in some universities can be adopted to other universities in terms of how to implement AI in education, this one. And this is also the same program, I mean, that we will be delivered in 2026 in terms of like practicing, implementing, and also developing AI in our system of education. And perhaps some of you already know that one of the program in the Kemenko PMK, Human Pemberdayaan Masyarakat dan Kebudayaan, right? PMK. That is also a national response for the development of AI, and our responsibility is also in designing AI for education, that one. This is not yet perhaps as advanced as perhaps the one in other countries in terms of like education, implementing AI, but we hope someday, perhaps there is also one lesson, one system here from UI3 in implementing AI in education and something like that. And the result perhaps from this one, it's not only in terms of book, this one is also, what you call it, like, a program like micro teaching and something like that. I hope it can be launched not long after this one, because it's already several months after we are done with preparing this one. And for the question from Maria from Universitas Terbuka, how do we respond actually in terms of like society to the development of AI and something like that? I remember once we have a statement or message from Buya Shafi'i Ma'arif, our mentor, and he mentioned 3 cases that have, in terms of technology, that have changed the world. The first one is printing machine in century, if I'm not mistaken. And at that time, like religious communities like against that one. And then some religious communities like this printing machine will like undermine religious authority and something like that. And also perhaps they can publish like duplicates of a holy book and something like that. But we cannot fight against the development of this time machine. And finally, religious communities and also academic communities adopting time machine as part of the technology that they use. And then after that, there is a television, there is also radio, and then some people at that time also against that one as something that disrupting community. And finally, we cannot reject this one. Just like television, radio, and then also printing machine, we cannot also refuse the development of AI and also like social media in our life. The one that I mentioned in my statement previously is by surfing in this development of technology. And a bit promotion of our new book, Digital Disruption in Indonesia, that will be published perhaps soon by ICES Yusof Ishak Institute. This one is talking about several issues, including how religion, discussing the development of technology, and also, for instance, fintech, financial technology, like apa namanya, Mas Alfa itu, apa namanya, uang crypto, yeah, crypto. Right now, for instance, Malaysia is allowing people to use crypto. Indonesia previously against that crypto, and MUI forbidding the use of crypto. But revising that one, I think Muhammadiyah also revising the fatwa against crypto and now allowing the use of crypto. So this one is like development our society before we are ready to use that one. Fintech and also social media and then also AI is something that like continuing developing in our society. We cannot like reject, refuse, and also not using this one. The only way of the only way to respond this one is by surfing on this development of technology. And for the last one from Mas Alpha, PISA and TKA, I think last year, 2025, we understand that the score of PISA and also TKA is very low. That is why one of the program in Sekolah Garuda and also scholarship, including from LPDP, focusing mostly on STEM, right? Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And also, like I mentioned before, the program at the universities prioritize 8 priorities of the programs and also 8 priorities of the scholarship, including related to nanotechnology and also including the issue of what you call it, apa namanya mas, yang for chips, that one, semiconductor and something like that. So that is the one that perhaps the Ministry of Higher Education try to catch up the development in other countries, including if we see the program at the Sekolah Garuda, Garuda Academy, it's also focusing on the what you call it, like STEM and also IB program and also character building for the society. In some, we can say that because of the condition of the PISA and also TKA and also the condition, the majority of the program at the university, perhaps right now more than how many percent, Bu Nina, is in education, right? That's the dominant program at Indonesian universities. And only around 32% that related to STEM. So from the target of Bapnas, berapa Mas Amik? 59 or 57%? Yeah, so we are still having like 29 or 30 something program in STEM, but the target of the government is above 50 actually. the dominant program is on like education and social sciences and humanities. We are part of that one, actually.
Thank you, Mas Najib. I don't know if I say we have too many social scientists, we need more engineers. Thank you. I would like to invite others to, yeah, Bu Tati, please.
No, Mas Najib, thank you. This is our second time Faculty of Education invited you, and the first time you just been appointed as the dirigent. Yeah, thank you for coming again. My question is probably stem from one of the books that I really like so much is from the Yuval Harari. Yeah, especially the last one, Homo Deus. Yeah, I think in that book he kind of gave me a very vivid visualization about the gap, the increasing gap between the wealthy nations and the more advanced citizens and then the less wealthy ones. I think we are under the category almost to the less wealthy one in terms of how diverse we are. So most of the, educated and wealth allocated in this Java island, and then a lot of our brothers and sisters are, spreading all over islands and not in Java. So my question related to that book actually to see the increasing dominance of AI, and then we know now basically the most the billionaires are, who also happens to be the owner of the founder of AI platforms like ChatGPT and Elon Musk and who else not there. But so I'm wondering whether in Indonesia, considering we are trying to catch up with that advancement, but also knowing the fact that we as a nation, we are not just advancing a few, but also equity matters here. Do we think we can do both ways? Knowing the fact that this is the trend is there, but do we have the capabilities to do both ways, to advance, to catch up, and also bringing our brother and sister in Indonesia enjoying the benefit of whatever the advancement is offering to us? Yeah. So basically, I'm trying to bring this discussion to you. Now you are leading us, so what do you think we as a university can do with that? Thank you.
Okay, Pak Najib, I have another person to ask, please. Can you please give the microphone to her, please? Thank you, Bu Tati, for your questions. I think the discussion is heating up. I'm glad. Thank you. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you for the chance. I'm Septina. I'm from Politeknik Negeri Jakarta. Thank you, Prof. Najib for the insightful presentation. I would like to ask about this issue. So in Indonesia, well, actually globally, that because of the internet, there is a lower attention span for the students. So as we know that among the students is very high and often exceeds the use of internet that cause the attention span. And it's become a little bit more challenging for educators to teach the younger generation. So as a policymakers, I would like to see your perspective in how to tackle these issues. Do you have a kind of program that collaborate between educators and government to handle about this issue?
What is the issue again specifically?
The attention span regarding to the internet use. The attention span. So students now, it's hard to take focus more, longer, the attention span, yes. So I would like to know about the kind of program or policymakers think about this issue.
Okay, thank you. You're from University?
Politeknik Negeri Jakarta. Politeknik Negeri Jakarta.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Politeknik Negeri Jakarta. Okay, thank you. Maybe another one? Yes? You want to ask something? You are raising your hand. Oh, okay. Okay, one more, please. Yeah, there are three. Huh? Yes, you.
I go first, sir. Yes. Thank you very much. My name is Bulkia Masud. I'm coming from Stein Majene, from West Sulawesi. So I'm representative from Eastern Indonesia. I want to ask the Ministry of Education about the problem in Eastern Indonesia. We already said about how Indonesian very behind in this global. But if we talk about the eastern part, we are more less developing. So I just want to know how the Ministry of Education address this problem, because I see that some of the policy is want to advance Indonesia, especially in education or in AI, and they equip students to study coding or anything that can make our student advance in AI and so on and so forth. But we sometimes we forget how to bringing the inequality, the inequality that happened in Eastern Indonesia. We sometimes forget that how we embrace them or how we can attract or bringing them to the standard without forgetting to advance our technology. But I think this is the problem, because we sometimes just focus on how to develop Indonesia, but we never think how we bring that some student from unequal areas in Indonesia, to bring them to understand more in the standard. Just focus on the standard, not just leave them behind. But that's I want to ask for the ministry or the government. Is there any specific policy to address those issues? Because we sometimes leveraging our education, but we forget to those kind of people that marginalize or sometimes forgetting, and we are advancing, but we do not bring them together to develop. So I think this is happening because I teach in Indonesia, in Eastern Indonesia, and I witness my students. They are from rural areas, and it is very. Sometimes I'm sad because I don't know how to address my teaching. I want to show them there is a global perspective, but they do not, they are just in their echo chamber. They do not see the world, but they just that's it's very difficult to bring them together to see that there is other world that you should achieve. They never see maybe some advancement in their life. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. Please, Pak Najib.
I try actually to understand the question. It's a bit difficult to understand this, because perhaps because my English is not good, or perhaps the sound system is not really. Yeah. And I know that the lecturers here, Ibu Nina, Pak Amih, Pak Jam, dan Mas Alfa, Pak Saiful, dan sebagainya itu, all are experts on education. So don't let me answer by myself, ya. Help me to answer the questions from the students, because you know better than me. So about this one from Mbak Tati, right? Diversity and equality in terms of using AI and also technology and something like that. But the philosophy that we are using right now, for instance, in terms of the technology and also adopting AI, is the rule of 1%. What is the meaning of the rule of 1%? That we need to do to spend something, program budget and something like that, to this small community, because the rule of 1% believes that the innovators, the future, and then the design of future is developed not by the community, general community, but the small community. That is why the focus on the AI program, system, strategies, and also education for this small community must be done by the government. That is also the reason behind the concept of Sekolah Garuda, Garuda Academy. So this is targeted not to the general community, but to the 1% of community. The concept of gifted and talented students, the concept of the inclusivity here is not directed only to the community of the disabled or disabled people, but also to the community of the small, gifted, and talented student that could become a creator, become designer, become developer of the future of Indonesia. And this one must be done, because previously if there is program like apa namanya itu Mas Alfa itu yang was rejected by people, apa namanya CB dan sebagainya, berkarakter internasional yang dulu itu ya. But this one is a bit different, because this one is designed to catch up in terms of like technology. The School of Garuda, Garuda Academy, the program like Beasiswa, and also what you call it, the priorities, the 8 priorities, is to catch up the weakness, apa namanya, the weakness of Indonesia in terms of the competition with other countries. But there is also other program, such as perhaps we can call it Sekolah Rakyat or any other program that targeted the diversity of Indonesian people. Because if all the program is going to the general people, perhaps we never have special program. Just like Mas Alfa referred to apa namanya Iran ya Mas Alfa. Although they have program for general, but they have special program for like technology and apa namanya nuclear and something like that. So this one is one of the rule of 1% is applied in this context of the program to catch up with other countries, and also to target the small community. The equality, of course, become the main program of like Mendikdasmen, yang merata, yang baik kepada semuanya. Tetapi ada yang ditujukan untuk yang komunitas small community, that small community. And then for the attention span, perhaps Mas Alfa can help? Can help? Atau Bu Nina? And also the next question, can you help Mas Alfa atau Bu Nina to answer that one?
Okay, thank you so much, Pak Najib. For other questions that haven't been answered, I would like you to raise up during the parallel sessions. Yeah, I think that will be more focused, and there are going to be more people that have passion and expertise, on those much more pedagogical and technical issues in classroom teaching. So I would like, I'm not going to wrap up this, but I think there are things, there are homework. Yeah, there's homeworks that we still have to do, to catch up with other countries in terms of STEM, in terms of technology. And Pak Najib,
there was no question regarding the system of teaching using AI. I mean, like cheating sheet and something like that, plagiarism and something like that in the context of the development of education right now. Because like I mentioned before, that there was a protest, there was a complaint from some students in some universities regarding adoption of the AI for the teachers, forbidding students, but adopted by teachers or something like that. Go on, Mas.
Thank you, Pak Najib. I think that issue is also going to be discussed, during our parallel sessions. The ethical AI, that is still, I think, because it is something pretty new, and then I think it is still going on. And we understand that both ministries, the higher education and primary and secondary, also are discussing this and then trying to formulate what is the best policy in dealing with ethical AI. And our conference is also addressing that issue. So Pak Najib, I would like to thank you so much for your participations. And then our homework is still a long way to go, for us to catch up with other countries for making sure that equity exists during global, between global and north, global south and global north. and innovation also is our ongoing struggle. Thank you so much. I would like to give a round of applause to Pak Najib for his participation. Thank you so much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I would like to give the microphone back to the MCs. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Alpha and Prof. Najib, for the discussion. We would like now to have the token of appreciations. We kindly invite the Rector of IIU, Universitas Islam Internasional Indonesia, Professor Jamhari Mahruf, to come on stage, and also Prof. Najib to receive the token of appreciation from us. And please help the documentation photo. We also invite Ibu Nina to come on stage to have a photo session together. Thank you, Pak Rektor, Bu Dekan, Pak Najib, and also Pak Alpha. You may be seated.
That was really fruitful discussions, which is moderated by one of the best lecturer of IIU. And currently, it is qualified enough for Dr. Alpha to lead the sessions, since at the present, Dr. Alpha also as the head of quality insurance of Universitas Islam Internasional Indonesia. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause for all the speakers. Now we'll proceed to the second sessions, and we would like to invite the second keynote speaker by Clara Marie Hefner, Ph.D., Union College, United States of America. And these sessions will be moderated by Ms. Ade Husna, one of FoE students in Faculty of Education, Ph.D. We would like to invite Ms. Ade Husna to come on stage.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, Honorable Director of Universitas Islam Internasional Indonesia, Distinguished Dean of the Faculty of Education, Universitas Islam Indonesia, Honorable guests, lecturers, participants, and all lovely audience. In this special occasion, it is a great pleasure for me, a great honor for me to welcome you all to this session, the 5th Annual Conference of the Faculty of Education. I am Ade Husna. I will be serving as your moderator today. We are highly privileged that today we have an esteemed, distinguished keynote speaker from the Union College, USA, Ibu Professor Claire Mary Hefner, who will present her topics, a relevant topic, timely topics, thought-provoking topics about an anxious generation in the making, Indonesian youth education, and the digital. This topic relates deeply with the education environment that especially we navigate the complexities with the young generation in Indonesia, especially as it is related with the transformation and the young generation. Before we begin, allow me to briefly introduce our distinguished keynote speaker. Professor Hefner has conducted research in Java, Indonesia since 2008, though her experience living in and visiting the country go back in 1995. Her work focus on theme of gender, embodiment, learning, and education. He is currently completing her book, manuscript titled Achieving Islam, Women, Education, and Morality in Indonesia, a comparative study of 2 Islamic boarding schools for girls in Yogyakarta. It asks how does Islamic schooling impact the imagined futures and real-life trajectories for their female students? What does the moral learning of Indonesian Islamic boarding school students tell us about how young Muslims today engage, reconceive, and enact in Islam? And also, what role does leisure and fun play in the moral formation for Muslim women students? What lesson does the Muslim example offer for how anthropologists understand freedom, agency, and human flourishing? And Professor Hefner has a lot of publication in that topic. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a warm round of applause for our distinguished speaker. And I would not forget to tell you that Professor Hefner's research has funded by the National Science Foundation, the Werner Jean Foundation for Anthropological Research, and National Academy of Education and Space Foundation. Without further ado, Professor Hefner, the floor is yours. Your seat, or this is your. You want me to talk, or?
I can do it. Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you so much, Ade, for that wonderful introduction. And thank you all for having me here today. It's a real honor and privilege to get to be here at UIII. My first time here, and I've been really impressed by your beautiful campus and your growing programs and wonderful faculty. So it's a real honor to get to actually be here after hearing so much about your wonderful programs. I'd like to express my gratitude to Honorable Rector Professor Jamhari, Honorable Vice Rector Professor Shafiq Hashim, and also, of course, to Dean Professor Nina Nurmila, as well as Professor Andar Nubowo for the welcome and the invitation to be here. Again, I'm absolutely delighted to be here. I'd also like to thank all of the wonderful administrators who made today possible as well, coordinating all of our travel from around the world so that we could be here speaking together in person, which is increasingly something we don't have a chance to do. So often our conferences are heavily mediated, which is great as well, but can be something very special when we get to be in person. My delight too in getting to be here with our esteemed fellow speakers like Professor Najib Burhani, Professor Jérémy James. It's lovely to get to share this conference with you today. And I look forward to all of our meaningful conversations and discussions throughout today and tomorrow. My paper today is titled An Anxious Generation in the Making, Indonesian Youth, Education, and the Digital. I think perhaps an interesting complement to some of the themes that we heard from Professor Najib Burhani just recently, right? This is a project which grows out of my own fieldwork that I've been doing, as Ade mentioned. I've been doing research in 2 Islamic boarding schools for girls in Yogyakarta, Madrasah Mu'alimat Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta and Pesantren Krapia Ali Maksum. And in my work, I've been really interested in thinking about moral learning. So how do young women students understand what it means to be an educated modern woman, an educated modern Muslim woman in Indonesia today, and how that education then follow, the trajectory of their education after graduation? What does that look like? Well, one of the things that also became quite critical in my research was to understand how young women navigate the digital worlds of which they are a part. In my earlier research and writing, I've written about the kind of ways that Digital media allow women spaces for religious authority, for expression of religious authority that may not have otherwise been available to them previously. So this current project, thinking about questions of the digital and kind of how childhood is changing around the world with the advent of different technology. It really grows out of thinking about how the experience of going to middle and high school programs has shifted since my research in the early 2010s. Especially as I've been following the former graduates of the two schools of my study as they themselves navigate selecting schools for their own children, and they make their decisions about what they value in an education. And so you'll see that some of this draws on those themes, although what I'll be presenting today is something quite new, and I'm really excited to get the opportunity to workshop it with you here today. So I'll begin then. In his 2024 best-selling book, The Anxious Generation, social psychologist Jonathan Haidt of New York University describes how the ubiquity of smartphones and social media has led to a fundamental change in childhood in the United States. He calls this phenomenon the Great Rewiring of Childhood, highlighting the ways in which the human brain is hardwired for play to catalyze critical mental development in our formative years from infancy to young adulthood. He warns of the dangerous consequences of the shift from a play-based childhood to one that is now phone-based. Most American children, he argues, are now deprived of social engagement, uninterrupted attention from caregivers, and unsupervised play with peers. The result is an American health crisis, one that I think is an important thing to think about in contrast with perhaps some things we're seeing in Indonesia. Indeed, in the United States, it's been well documented that we see depression and anxiety rates skyrocketing among youth. As Jonathan Haidt writes, quote, "Gen Z is the first generation to have gone through puberty hunched over smartphones and tablets, having fewer face-to-face conversations and shoulder-to-shoulder adventures with friends. As childhood was rewired, especially between 2010 and 2015, adolescents became more anxious, depressed, and fragile. In this new phone-based childhood, free play, attunement, and local models for social learning are replaced by screen time, asynchronous interaction, and influencers chosen by algorithms. Children are, in a sense, deprived of childhood." End quote. Indeed, studies show that childhood has dramatically transformed in the United States. Increasingly, children face social deprivation with limited face-to-face interaction with friends, peers, and family. In 2003, before the advent of smartphones, youth between the ages of 15 and 24 reportedly spent over 2 hours a day interacting in person with their age peers and friends. By 2019, that number had dropped to a meager 40 minutes. And perhaps, indeed, we've all seen something similar in our own lecture halls and classrooms at university. My own college students now often sit scrolling through their phones before class or during a break, rather than chatting socially with their neighbors. So for American youth, in-person direct social communication has largely been replaced by asynchronous, disembodied, distance online interactions. And indeed, the numbers are quite staggering. So in a 2015 Pew Research report, 25% of teens reported that they were online nearly constantly. By 2022, by 2022, that number had nearly doubled. So not surprisingly, and no less alarming, depression rates among American youth have also risen quite sharply. Between 2010 and 2015, when Haidt notes that smartphones and social media became ubiquitous, depression rates surged, becoming roughly 2.5 times more prevalent than before. Depression and anxiety rates rose especially rapidly among young women and girls faced with new body scrutiny and new peer pressure on social media. Overall, these trends were deeply exacerbated further by the social distancing, online learning, and isolation of the COVID-19 global pandemic. So many of these changes to childhood have also coincided with shifts in parenting in the United States. Parenthood, especially among middle-class families, is now characterized largely by what's often referred to as helicoptering. So parents constantly hover over their children, doing everything from intervening in play, conflict, and everyday social interactions with age peers, to never allowing children to wander freely without supervision, to overscheduling their children with tutoring, sports teams, music lessons, and other extracurriculars to help ensure their success in grade school and the increasingly competitive college admissions process. Now, Haid and others note that these practices have left many children less emotionally resilient and more sensitive than previous generations. Nassim Taleb, in his 2012 book, Anti-Fragile: Things That Gain from Disorder, notes that our immune systems are designed to be challenged and hit by infection in order to gain resilience and strength. Children, too, argues Haid, are anti-fragile, requiring an occasional bump or bruise or emotional challenge to learn emotional resilience. So my paper today considers these American trends as they compare to social changes, transformations, and some debates that I'm seeing in contemporary Indonesia, debates I know that many of you are already quite familiar with. So my reflections, as I mentioned, draw on my over 15 years of research in 2 Islamic boarding schools for girls in Yogyakarta, as well as my recent investigations into curricular changes and new social pressures that middle-class parents and students are facing while navigating school choice and contemporary visions of success. So taken together, these observations serve as a cautionary tale of the trajectory of childhood in Indonesia as elsewhere globally, and offer some suggestions on what strategies and approaches might help to ameliorate the social harms of the Great Rewiring and its consequences. So perhaps a kind of complement to some of the themes that we're thinking about as we think about innovation, we might also ask this question of innovation to where and to what end, and what might the unanticipated consequences be. Okay. Now, of course, Indonesia is a young nation, often cited as such, with a median age of the population resting at 29 years old, compared to 38 years old in the United States, England, and Australia. Indonesia is also home to a booming middle class with some 52 million economically secure citizens. And according to the World Bank, since the early 2000s, economic transformations have allowed the majority of impoverished citizens to move into a precarious, aspiring middle class. An estimated 115 million people occupy this category. Now, phone use in Indonesia is quite high. Indeed, Indonesians use their phone for an average of 4.5 hours per day. That's about an hour longer than the daily global average. Some phone use, of course, is related to the multiple jobs that many, especially middle-class Indonesians hold. Recent reports have shown that Indonesians of working age are now 2.5 times more overworked than previously. It's harder and harder, of course, to maintain a middle-class lifestyle with just one job, even with families where both parents are working. So children and young adults' relationship with screens are more complicated, and the figures, though, are just as staggering. Reports indicate that Indonesian children spend an average of 7.5 hours a day in front of screens. So not just cell phones, but screens more broadly. And these numbers are emblematic of a shift towards a phone-based childhood over a play-based childhood in the country. Now, some of Jonathan Haid's descriptions of the fragility of contemporary American youth may sound familiar with you. If any of you have come across Renald Kasali's 2017 book, The Strawberry Generation, Mengubah Generasi Rapuh Menjadi Generasi Tangguh, right, or transforming a fragile generation into a resilient one. He makes similar observations about the emotional fragility of Indonesian youth. He notes that they're creative and they're very thoughtful, but can be more sensitive than previous generations. Their emotions and egos, as he writes, are much like a strawberry, can be quite easily bruised. When I asked educators in the Yogyakarta area about the current generation of elementary and secondary school students, many expressed similar views. Quote, "I have to be careful how I give advice," shared one Madrasah Aliyah teacher, who then adding, "Students are so sensitive to critique now." Others cited the pandemic as a major determinant to help raise their children in their home, especially in urban settings. The idea of hiring a babysitter, someone unrelated to you from a service or by word of mouth, is increasingly met with fears of abuse and neglect. Some stories circulate by mouth and in viral social media posts about worst-case scenarios. As a result, many parents opt for long school days, extracurriculars, and juggle bringing their children even to office meetings and events so as to avoid unrelated caregivers. So as one state Madrasa Sanawiya teacher and father explained to me in an interview, during his childhood, parents only worried about tangible, physical fears, like his getting injured while playing soccer, or perhaps falling into the river near their home. Today, however, the things he worries about for his daughter are less tangible, posing a threat instead to his daughter's morality. What then does he worry about for his children, I asked? Free socializing with boys, or pergaulan bebas, exposure to pornographic materials, as well as violent content largely in the digital world. These are the dangers that center at the forefront of his concerns. For him, choosing to send his daughter to an Islamic boarding school, or pesantren, was the solution. When his wife was struggling with having her daughter so far from home, crying one night when she longed to give her daughter a hug, he said that he explained to her, quote, love doesn't always come in the form of hugs, and that boarding their daughter away from home was in fact an important form of care. Now, pesantren education traditionally involves, as many of you know, long periods of isolation from parents, family, and friends as students immerse themselves in the Islamic boarding school experience. And a digital detox involving restrictions on digital media, the internet, and television is a common feature of the contemporary pesantren and is often cited by parents as an appeal of the school. As one mother explained to me when I asked the motivations for sending her son to Mondok, or to go to pesantren at Krapia, her first response was that, well, when he's home, all he does is main HP, or play with his smartphone. Now, in recent years, Islamic boarding schools are facing new challenges in their restrictions on digital media and gadgets as they face increasing pressures to incorporate technology into the classroom. And of course, that's an important innovation, right? And parents have expectations about maintaining contact with their children. And so this has been shifting, right? So in what follows, I look at some of the changes that I've seen at Pesantren Krapia Ali Maksum and Madrasa Mu'alima Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta, these two Islamic boarding schools where I've been working. So first, a scene from an orientation. So on a hot midday in July of 2019, a crowd of several hundred parents, guardians, and guardians gathered in a tent on a dusty field in southern Yogyakarta. They chatted nervously amongst themselves. They were there for new student drop-off and orientation at Pesantren Krapia. On a raised platform before them sat the school leadership, the kiais and the nyais of the Krapia Ali Maksum Foundation. During a brief address about the schedule for the week and the foundation's hopes for the incoming class, the presentation turned to school rules and guidelines. One kiai addressed the audience sternly. Bapa-bapa, ibu-ibu, a cell phone is like a knife, or seperti pisau. If students don't know how to use it properly, they just end up hurting themselves. So he continued by explaining the role of parents in the adherence to pesantren rules prohibiting digital gadgets like laptops, tablets, and especially smartphones. He warned, quote, the first time we catch your student with a cell phone, we return the phone to you. The second time, we return your child, end quote. Now, many schools, as you may be familiar, have even harsher punishments with dramatic raids and the sale or public destruction of confiscated gadgets. However, in recent years, and especially since the global coronavirus pandemic, nyai, kiai, and school teachers in the Yogyakarta area have expressed their concerns that it's becoming increasingly difficult to get both students and their parents to agree to follow the school's no gadget, no cell phone policies. One nyai at Krapia explained to me that many parents are no longer willing to follow the rule of 40 days of no contact when their child is first dropped off at the pesantren. This long-standing tradition, she described, is about developing students' independence, their resilience. It allows students a chance to adapt emotionally to being far from their parents. Now, rules banning cell phones, laptops, tablets, and other gadgets were also meant to help students to focus on their studies and their religious practices, while also blurring socioeconomic differences between students. One dorm supervisor explained to me that students today have grown up with smartphones at their disposal. and that their dependency and addiction is such that it's harder and harder for them to imagine life without it. But increasingly, interestingly, it's parents too who struggle to accept the gadget-free rules, especially if it means limited contact with their children. Now, the COVID-19 pandemic was a key turning point in these developments. Early on in the pandemic, many schools attempted to go remote, with many students studying from their homes with their families through Google Classroom and Zoom, other platforms. But poor infrastructure and lack of resources for many students made this task untenable. Eventually, students returned to school, but with heavy restrictions to their school grounds and no opportunities for visits with family. So some Islamic boarding school administrators introduced new systems for updating parents on their students in ways that they never had before. Indeed, new innovations, right, made possible by technology. So WhatsApp groups, for example, were created featuring regular updates from dorm supervisors about each student. Students were allowed the opportunity to write letters to their parents, which were next photographed and sent via WhatsApp back home. As the pandemic passed and social distancing regulations subsided, parents still expect this level of information from the school. Now, in the special region of Yogyakarta, the field of education has seen some really dramatic shifts in recent years. In the urban center, private, elite, and high tuition schools are mushrooming around the city landscape, along with other markers of the growing middle class, like expensive malls, cafes, and other spaces for conspicuous consumption. Car ownership has also skyrocketed, with many schools featuring a drop-off line that snakes around the block, often a full hour or even longer before classes begin. The growing middle class, with many parents working in cities like Jakarta and Bandung, but raising families in Yogyakarta, have the income that allows them to select these elite schools that give their children a leg up in the college education process, boasting robust foreign language training, study abroad opportunities, international accreditation, and the latest pedagogical models. Now, SD Muhammadiyah Sapen, for example, top-ranking private elementary school, is one such school that caters to middle-class, achievement-oriented families. Parents told me that the wait list for admissions is several years long, with many parents registering children who are not even born yet. Indeed, many private religious schools are experiencing a boom in enrollment as parents cite concerns about setting a strong religious foundation in their children at an early age. So as a result, many state schools have seen some startling trends in recent years. In suburban and rural areas, many state schools are experiencing a drop in enrollment, with some institutions reporting an incoming class of just a handful of students, or even none. The reasons for these trends are complex, but indeed, they include factors like the decline in youth population in some rural areas, urbanization, and a lack of trust at times in some state institutions. So for parents with the means to send their children to private schools, they cite their concerns about moral instruction and the quality of education in some state schools as a reason that they choose a private religious institution, especially for elementary school. Now in Yogyakarta, new zonasi rules or zoning law rules mean that many students no longer have the traditional channels that their parents had to get them into top-ranking schools. These new rules involve placing limits on who can attend state schools based on their home address. In Yogyakarta, a select number of public schools have always been seen as guaranteeing matriculation into top local universities like Universitas Gadjah Mada. However, new zoning rules have limited some students' options for facilitated entrance into top state schools. So, for some parents who have the means, the choice of private schools is something that they feel will guarantee their children's future success. So going from these trends, let's return to think a little bit more about some shifts and changes in childhood in the United States as they compare. So in the 1990s in the United States, play and free time options for children shifted dramatically. Even though mothers especially were working in higher numbers than previous generations, reports show children began to spend more time with their parents than ever before. Parents, and especially mothers, were expected to become their children's playmates and to set up enrichment activities. Play outside the home was limited to arranged playdates rather than spontaneous free play with neighbors. The task of arranging said playdates largely fell on mothers. However, often overall free play time dropped dramatically for youth as parents scheduled sports practice, dance classes, instrument lessons, additional tutoring, and other activities meant to bulk up children's college applications, even at an early age. Now, in her ethnography, An Unequal Childhood, Class, Race, and Family Life, the sociologist Annette Lareau demonstrates how class plays a key role in how children experience childhood in America. She notes that middle and upper class families engage in a process that she calls concerted cultivation with their children. They manage their time, they overschedule them, and reduce the amount of leisure that they're allowed in an effort to draw out students' skills and talents. In the United States today, a busy child is considered to be a success-bound child. In poor and working class families, Lareau argues, parents take a more natural growth parenting approach, as she describes, where a child's development is expected to unfold spontaneously as long as their basic needs are being met at home. It might be tempting to assume that these changes are due to increasing pressures for students to achieve and to start building towards competitive college admissions at an earlier and earlier age. However, Lareau finds that this phenomenon is occurring in other Anglo countries in Europe where college admissions is not so fraught. She argues instead that this change in child rearing relates to urban design and the increasingly car-centered nature of life in many countries. Since the book's publication in 2011, we might add how this shift towards a phone-based childhood has further exacerbated these trends. Now, I've seen similar trends among middle-class families in the Yogyakarta area in recent years. Parents increasingly voice concerns about scheduling their children so that they stay out of trouble and to keep them ahead in their classes. One middle-class mother of 3 explained to me that she's concerned about the quality of the education, even in a well-ranked state high school that her daughter attends. To supplement the education and to help ensure her daughter's matriculation into a top local university like Gajah Mada, her daughter spends often hours after school in les or tutorials and other activities. She has little time for herself, and any free time that she has, she typically spends on her phone watching YouTube or scrolling through social media. So in my conversations in Yogyakarta with Yogyakarta teachers in 2025 at a variety of institutions, many cited stress as the biggest challenge that they see facing Indonesian youth today. That stress may come from their concerns about their academic performance and pressures that they feel from their parents. Some teachers and counselors noted economic concerns as another anxiety-inducing factor for adolescents. Others cited the issue of bullying, both in person and online, as a major source of stress among students. Even with recent legislation that criminalizes school bullying, the phenomenon features prominently in students, parents, and teachers' concerns. Now, thinking about some of these trends and realities and how we're thinking about the importance of integrating innovative technology and pedagogical models into our classroom, I'm going to think here a little bit with some of the ideas that are suggested by Jonathan Haidt as he thinks about kind of ramifications of the kind of implementation of digital media in students' lives, and how we might think about if these would kind of work in the Indonesian context. Because of course, digital media, the internet, smartphones, artificial intelligence, all of these tools are of course quite integral and unavoidable elements of contemporary life. Indeed, Islamic boarding school students as well need to have a certain facility in these technologies in order to be competitive in the job market. We also, of course, know that online worlds and their resources are not all negative, right? Where many people will be participating in today's conference through online means. I have known many autodidactic santri who's taught themselves English or Korean through YouTube, Duolingo, and through studying song lyrics largely online. Online worlds can indeed be quite empowering. As I've argued elsewhere in my research, young women in Islamic boarding schools who master the implicit and explicit social rules of online worlds often find new opportunities for asserting their religious authority in ways and spaces that were not always open to them previously. In the United States, a 2025 Pew Research study found that 74% of teens say that social media platforms are indeed a positive space for friendships, and 63% said that these spaces help them to spark and showcase their creativity. In the same survey, young people showed also a self-awareness, too, of the potential harms of social media. 45% said that they spend too much time on social media compared to 36% just 3 years earlier. So self-awareness of the potential harms has grown, and that is certainly a first step in addressing some of the social harms of the great rewiring of childhood. Along these lines, and building off of Haid's own suggestions, I'd like to make sort of the following suggestions and perhaps observations about what families, schools, and policymakers might do moving forward, although I'm fully recognizing the pulling through the halls, staring at their phones, to lively socializing, laughing, and joking between classes. Of course, students can always find ways around these restrictions. At that same school in Kentucky, where students need to deposit their phones into these magnetic pouches at the start of the school day, many students disregarded this rule entirely. They placed decoy phones or just cases into the pouches, and they carried their phones around in their pockets nonetheless. However, educators at this Kentucky school noted that even students who skirted around these rules were still not brazen enough to use their phones during class, and students' attention and participation has risen significantly since the implementation of this ban. It's noteworthy too, I read in the news, I haven't had a chance to speak to many people about sort of what this looks like yet, but it's noteworthy that cities like Jakarta, just this past January, were setting new guidelines that limit the use of phones and smartwatches during school hours, designating spaces where gadgets will be stored. I haven't heard much news quite yet about how these rules will necessarily be implemented. Indeed, this is always a logistical and financial challenge because often the facilities needed to properly store and protect these gadgets are often quite expensive. But indeed, I think these regulations are an important step in the right direction. Okay. Another suggestion that we see globally being implemented, and in fact here in Indonesia as well, is the idea that setting the minimum age of social media use to 16 years old. This is following the lead of countries like Australia, and just in mid-March, of course, in 2026, Indonesia followed suit with new guidelines with 16 as the minimum age for social media here as well. Again, always the kind of logistical challenge here is how to implement these rules. And how to do this is still unclear. Reportedly, the process will start in stages with platforms like YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, X, and many others. Of course, digital media giants like Meta and YouTube that own these apps and platforms have argued that these new regulations will not make children safer, as it will push them to less regulated sites or to using sites without accounts that can be monitored by parents. Of course, it may be worth noting here that Meta may not be a source for thinking about standards for the safety of teens and children, as they were recently found guilty this week of libel for having not protected the best needs of children. And they now owe the plaintiff, I think, over $6 million for their negligence in the treatment of children on their platforms. Some observers have also raised some security concerns about age verification processes. So these policies, of course, need to be crafted carefully and considered before implementation. Now, broader debates about digital media in schools are also happening, of course, in the context of changing curricular expectations in the country. Schools and educators, of course, we know are facing kind of a new push, right, to offer more student-centered activities rather than teacher-centered activities, and the passive instruction that has long characterized as Indonesian education, right, until recently. My conversations with educators and with students, however, reveal that oftentimes the student-centered activities in the classroom will translate into sending students to Google information and then to present it to the class. So indeed, quite active and student-centered in terms of their taking the position of the authority in the classroom. But similarly, at the same time, it's important to note that oftentimes we're not yet seeing much instruction for students in Indonesian classrooms, but also in the United States when it comes to thinking about guidelines on media literacy, right? How do you know what a good source is? How do you know what a good trustworthy platform is? Is everything on Wikipedia trustworthy? Those sorts of things. So as we think about the process of protecting kids when they're in these online spaces, that sort of media literacy is quite critical here, right? It's also worth noting too, as I've written about elsewhere, that this issue of digital literacy among students also expands or extends to the realm of religious education. Young Muslim children and teens often have instant answers to their religious questions online, and these answers are often bereft of the traditional processes of religious exegesis through a learned and trusted scholar. A 2016 Indonesian Internet Service Providers Association survey on internet access and usage concluded that about 75% of millennials use the internet, and 97% of those who use social media, use social media of some kind. And of those on social media, 81% used social media for religious advice. So these changes have now posed some new challenges for traditional religious leadership in Indonesia. So taken together, these trends point to the importance of media literacy in training and training in schools. Access to the World Wide Web without some sort of compass for navigating the choppy waters of misinformation, of conspiracy, of poor or untrustworthy scholarship is indeed careless on all of our parts, right? Something that we need to think about as educators. And we've seen in the United States, as elsewhere, that indeed a lack of media literacy can, in fact, indeed threaten democracy. Okay, and here in my last sort of thought or suggestion, I think echoes some of the points made by Professor Burhani in his presentation earlier. And that is to think about the purpose of education, sort of what are we doing with education today, right? In the United States and in Indonesia, I think we're seeing some interesting parallels. This is a global phenomenon, really, is that schools are facing new pressures from government agencies, as well as parents and students, to justify the work-related goals of elements of a curriculum. In the United States, these ideals have been formalized in government policies, like new federal guidelines, which now restrict student financial aid to only higher-earning professional training. But I think it's important to pause here and ask ourselves, what is schooling for, right? What do we gain if we allow students more time to explore without the pressures of transferability to the job market? How do we limit their possibilities when we silo them into professional tracks at a younger and younger age? Now, Islamic education in Indonesia itself, if we kind of return to some of the spaces and themes that I've looked at in my previous work, I think we see, of course, that Islamic educational institutions in Indonesia are incredibly dynamic spaces. They're always responding to the changes and shifting realities of the communities that they serve. But throughout all of this, certain core elements and pedagogical strategies have remained. Indeed, that's what many students are seeking, is that history, the unchanging element of the Islamic boarding school process. So beyond the central religious curriculum and traditional pedagogical strategies of pesantren and madrasah, the communal aspects of the training are also key. When I talk to Islamic boarding school alumna from different backgrounds and ask what they remember most fondly from their time there, one of the most common responses that I receive is that they long for the communal aspects of pesantren education. So things like shared prayers, shared meals, and a sense of community. The encroachment of gadgets on school grounds threatens many of these classical social features of religious education and community building. So as we consider innovation and transformation in Indonesian education today, I think it's important to think about or consider what we also aim to preserve through some of those processes, right? And what is still seen as something that's integral and importantly Indonesian still in that education itself. So I'll leave us here first with those thoughts for now. I want to again thank you all for this important opportunity to be here today and to share my ideas. And I look forward to hearing your thoughts, your reactions, and your comments. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Hefner, for your interesting topic. I'm sure that everyone here, the audiences, all has a lot of questions in their minds. For me personally, I'm quite curious about strawberry generation, something like that, Gen Z and their difficulties in focus because of screen time, as you said before. And before I open the Q&A session, I have question about Yogyakarta. Since you mentioned your research, conduct your research in Yogyakarta, in Pesantren Putri Yogyakarta, right? Actually, in Indonesia, according to MORA, Minister of Religious Affairs, we have West Java province as the huge number of pesantren in Indonesia. The first province in Indonesia is West Java. So following after that, we have Banten province. We have more than 500 pesantren in Banten province. I mean, later on when you are interested in diving and exploring pesantren in that two provinces, I will be very helpful to be your guide, maybe. Okay, since the time is limited, dear audiences, you might raise your hand and don't forget to introduce yourself. Oh, we have a lot of questions here. Bapak, respected Bapak, I think we can borrow the microphone. Okay, oh, you can, yeah. Do you prefer to answer one by one, or we collect the question and you answer it at the end? One by one, okay. Please, Bapak.
Nyala ya, udah. Yeah. My name is Saiful Ridwan. I'm a retiree from the UN. I retired in 2024. My background is in digital transformation. But can you hear? Okay. Can you hear now? Okay. I'm not used to this. So I just brief introduction of myself. I'm a retiree from the United Nations in 2024. My background is in digital transformation. So I just have two short questions to ask you. But before that, let me also thank you for the very enlightening presentation. And I really like your slides. They're very visually appealing. Now, there are two questions. From your studies at the madrasah in Yogyakarta, do you see any significant difference between how they use and what they use the digital devices for compared to the global usage of the similar age? Yeah, or it's across the board, everywhere in the world. If you're a teenager between, I don't know, 12 and 17, they use it all the same, for the same purpose. The second question is about control. How in the Indonesian context, yeah, what would be your recommendation in terms of controlling the use of digital devices? Maybe not controlling, let's say, how best to engage the youth with digital devices. For example, do you think that in Indonesia, using religious teachings, religious morals or ethics can be useful to reduce the negative impacts of digital devices? Yeah? Or if we also talk about control, who should be best controlling? The government or the parents, the teachers, or who? I mean, what would be your, thoughts on this aspect? Thank you. Maybe just to highlight, in case you're not aware, you know, Indonesia is one of the probably most religious nations around the world. Yeah? But at the same time, we also have a very high corruption index. Thank you.
Is this okay? Well, thank you very much for your question. I think it's an important one, especially your second question is one that I think we're all struggling with about who should be setting the guidelines about the use of social media and the regulation of it, right? I think it's healthy to have a hesitation about state interventions because there's always concerns about certain kinds of censorship or sort of different kinds of rights that people have to access to information, right, and how we regulate that. So I'm not sure that I'm not sure I have a definitive answer. I think that I have found that the studies reflect that if an age limit is placed on things like social media from a state level, it does have an important ramification, right? It does have it plays an important role in helping to protect kids from some of the social harms of social media in particular. I think it needs to be something though that's enforced across society because just coming from the state level is not going to work if youth and their parents are not interested in the same things. So there also needs to be consensus and I think there's a lot of variation in terms of what parents are willing to engage. I think increasingly if we look at middle-class families, there's a lot of concern that their children get a leg up in terms of technology and innovation in the classroom, and those are important assets for them. It's often one of the selling points of a lot of private institutions. But I think what needs to be thought about more critically is how gadgets are being used in the class, how freely students have that sort of like personal use time with them. So your first question though was about the exceptionalism of Indonesia, like how unusual is it? I think from what I've seen from numbers that in terms of screen time, Indonesia has a very high usage rate when it comes to daily use of social media and screens more broadly, comparatively speaking. Particularly as I cited the figure that it's a full hour longer than global averages. So I think one might ask why that is. And I think it has a lot to do with, again, changes in parenting and also in sort of child care in the country as well, especially if we look at sort of changes and broadening of the middle class. So it is exceptional in some ways, perhaps, but also we see that American families are struggling with the same issues of screen addiction and social interaction, lack of social interaction for their children. This is something that I see debated amongst parents in my community quite frequently. We also see these debates emerge again when tech companies like Google strike deals with state education institutions, public schools, to give free tablets in the classroom, and parents often raise concerns about this, like why is Google getting access to my child in first grade and learning about them and gaining personal information at such an early age. So it's clearly something that there's a lot of conflict and disagreement about because some parents are excited to have their kids learning on digital media from a young age. So. Yeah, it's not an exceptional thing, these sorts of challenges, as we see from the kind of parallels in what Jonathan Haidt describes and from some of what's going on in Indonesia itself. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's closely related with what have presented by Professor Hefner about the strategies before, right? Okay, we have another question from Pak Lukman. Please introduce yourself. Okay, Pak Lukman. I think because the time is limited, we will open only one question after this, okay?
Hello, I'm not Pak Lukman, I am Furqon.
Astagfirullah, Furqon. Lukmanul Furqon, right?
Oh, Furqonul Hakim. Almost the same like
Bapak, I'm sorry.
He's
because
my
it's time to lunch,
supervisor.
I'm starving.
Okay, thank you for reminding me, my academic supervisor, Mr. Lukmanul Hakim. Okay, I want to, following up your strategies moving forward, you have written 4 strategies there. And number 1 is encouraging phones-free schools. And number two, set the minimum age for social media usage to at least 16 years old. Currently, our government's already officially announced to set the minimum age for the social media usage, which is 16 years old, following up these strategies moving forward. I'm thinking about the study you have done in Yogyakarta. You mentioned about how the boarding schools, specifically for the mualimat, if I'm not mistaken, in the girls boarding schools. And can you share us a little bit more specific on the strategies, the school, especially for the teachers' strategies on how, what's called, using the smartphone in terms of using the social media. We also mentioned about before the class, during the class, and after the class. And then it's quite backlasting with the ideas of encouraging phone-free schools. Where I overheard from the boarding school, mostly they don't let the students to use the phones during the class. But sometimes as a teacher, we also had to employ or equip them to have the, what's called, the learning process inside the schools. Did they 100% eliminate the usage of smartphone in the class, or just let them to use the smartphone before the class, or even no smartphone in the school or in the dorm? Thank you.
Sorry, I couldn't quite understand the first question. Do you?
Can you make it consist?
Okay.
So short. The point of your question is?
Okay, the point is about the strategies of the school.
The status
Yeah,
of
the
the
strategy of the
school?
schools in your study about the smartphone usage. Because you mentioned, I also heard from your presentation talking about before the classrooms, during the classroom, and after the classroom. Which one do they prefer more to let the students use the smartphone during the, in their program at the school?
Okay, so I'm having a hard time with the echo. I'm understanding the question fully. Yeah, sorry, did you hear?
Actually, interestingly, Professor Hefner is also speaking Indonesian fluently.
Oh, okay, so because my English is not too good, so I'm trying to
Tapi
say in
masalahnya,
bahasa.
ya apa ya, audionya.
Okay.
Ya agak ada echo ya, jadi maaf bukan bahasa Inggrisnya, tapi.
Okay,
The microphone maybe it's not clear.
Is it too close? So, how about, is it audible?
Yeah, it's just that there's the echo, so I'm having a hard
Okay.
time understanding.
Let me speak a little bit slower. And we talk about the strategies moving forward. Kita bahas tentang 4 points you have mentioned on your slide.
Right.
About the encouraging phones-free schools. And in my understanding, it is the levels of policy made by the school, or it can be made by the students, also the teachers in the classrooms. And I'm thinking about the strategy as a teacher.
Yes.
When we utilize the phone in the classroom. Sometimes we need the phone, sometimes we don't need the phones.
Right.
In your study, did you also find specific strategies the school employed in terms of using the smartphone? Is it employed before the class, or during the class, or after the class, or how? Because as a teacher, I also thinking that it's also important for us to combine those strategies using the smartphone. Maybe in this meeting, we let them to, okay, no phones for today, but next meeting we should encourage them to use phone, for example.
Sure.
And did you find those specific strategies from the school?
Yes.
In terms of using the social media, or smartphone, sorry, in the classroom setting?
So you're asking specifically in Indonesia or in the United States?
In your study, in Indonesia, in
Indonesia.
in
Yeah, so
Yogyakarta.
the strategy is very really
But if you can compare, it can be much better to give more insightful.
a comparison.
Yeah, comparisons. Thank you.
So currently, I mean, policies are all over the place in both contexts. So from what I see in Yogyakarta, it varies by school. Like some private schools, like I was speaking with a teacher who works in a middle school, like in the Al-Azhar, found like chain, right? And so what she did is she often used the cell phone in class and created games so that students could participate in the class using their phones to like see who could get the answer quickest, or she often had like surveys or questionnaires that she was filling out that then you could see the results in live time. So it certainly is the case that it can be a really valuable resource. I think what like scholars like Jonathan Haidt and Professor Twage, I believe is her name, have found is that it's still just the presence of cell phones in the class typically reduces attention span and focus among students, and it's the distraction that becomes a problem and a detriment to students' sort of success in the classroom. I think many educators are happy using it, but I think that a lot of the studies show that we should still be cautious about the embrace of using smartphones in the classroom. And I think one of the qualities that I've particularly admired from the Islamic boarding schools that I've worked in is the idea that not having technology in the classroom also helps to reduce the evidence of socioeconomic difference in the class. And so if you don't have students comparing like, ooh, HP-nya lebih canggih dibandingkan dengan saya, yeah, or like whatever it is, like it reduces issues of bullying, which we know is a national problem, right? It helps to address some of those social issues as well. And so I've seen that has been really effective in some Islamic boarding schools where placing limits on what students can bring to the class and to campus more generally is really important in helping to level the playing field in certain ways and to create a sense of unity in a classroom that sometimes doesn't happen if you have those social markers. In the United States, the way that these rules have been implemented varies dramatically. So in some states, some places it's a state level decision, like in New York State, they've been introducing policies where it's a gadget-free classroom from bell to bell, which means from the start of the school day until the end of the school day. Other states, it varies by city, it varies by school district, it varies by school. So it's not a state level policy in any way, like a federal level policy. So it's still something that we clearly haven't come to a full consensus about, right? And I think that some of that will change as we also understand a little bit more how digital media impacts the mental health and sort of social learning of young people, right? Yeah.
What was the age of the students in Indonesia? What was the age of the student?
The age of what?
The students.
The students that I work with?
Yeah.
Like middle school through high school.
Okay, thank you.
Really, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you for the answer. And yeah, okay, one more question because the time is limited. We give the time to the women, to the female. Okay. Okay. Please just strike to the point and make it concise. A short question. Don't forget to introduce yourself.
I'm Maya Puspitasari from Universitas Terbuka, and my question is, I grew up in an era where parents do physical punishment with sticks, broom, belts, and something. So I promised myself that I would not let my kids face the same. But then we see strawberry generation nowadays, then sometimes I question myself, is it because I didn't do what my parents did, or is it because something else? So how can we respond as an academic, as teachers, as parents to respond the strawberry generation? Thank you very much.
Did you get it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that's a really interesting question. I'm not sure sort of what the perfect approach is. I can certainly think a little bit about what the research has shown has been the source of some of these social changes that have led to the strawberry generation. And a lot of that has to do with social media, actually, and the importance placed on, people's reactions to your comments, right? So things like a like or a heart, something like that. It's created a sense for a lot of youth that they're in need of regular validation from others. and not receiving that can, on a regular, quite regularly, can mean a certain loss of self-confidence, right? And so I think social media is one of the reasons that we're seeing this happen. I'm not sure that it's because of a lack of discipline from parents. I don't think that that's necessarily the case. I think instead that there's been a greater emphasis placed on individualism and the idea of the self and the emotions through a kind of globalization of certain psychological discourse that centers on the self and me and trauma and those sorts of things. That has kind of shifted people's focus from kind of social interaction and the social responsibilities owed to others to what society owes me, right, as the individual. And so I think that that's, in fact, kind of where this shift is coming from. And so thinking about how you address that through limits on social media, limits on some of these spaces, and the exchange of those discourses, I think, will be an important, perhaps, step in the right direction. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much for the answer that's so satisfied for me personally. And yeah, we have come to the end. And I am sorry that so many people still raise their hand, but maybe we can just end this session. And if you have a very urgent question, maybe you can email to Professor Hefner. Yeah, and thank you so much for your kind attention, dear participants. And after this, we will pursue to the next agenda. Please give applause to Professor Hefner. Again. Okay. Maybe we can take a picture? Of course, okay. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you for the enlightening discussion, Prof. Hefner and also Ms. Ade Husna. Now we would like to have a token of appreciation. We kindly invite Prof. Nina as the Dean of Faculty of Education to give the token appreciations for Prof. Hefner. Okay, let's give applause for the discussion. Thank you so much. You may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, now we will have a break, the lunch break, as it's already 12 o'clock. So we're going to have the lunch break by 12, and we will resume at 1:30 directly with the panel sessions. The panel session will be located at Faculty A building and will be led by the usher. May I know where is the LO or usher? Can you raise your hand so you can get, okay. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you can go to the usher to help you to go to the Faculty A building. Yeah. Yeah, but then before that, the lunch is provided at the registration desk, and we also have the mosque and also musola at Faculty A building for your prayer. And after the panel session, we will have art performance announcement and also dinner at the Procession Hall Rectorate building, third floor by 3:45, right? So usher will be guide you then again. Once again, thank you so much for your attention. Have a good day. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.